A glorious morning once again greets the competitors for the Pirelli GT4 America Sprintx Championship as we get the season back underway after a long 4-month forced hiatus. It is a beautiful venue, VIR, and a beautiful day to go racing for the third day of a very busy event. 3 races on the ticket for many of the classes here this weekend, this being one of them. Hi, everybody. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Calvin Fish, Ryan Marine, covering all the action down on the grid and pit lane for us. And Cal, maybe that's the biggest piece of news here, is so many of these classes are going to be running 3 races on what is an absolutely phenomenal venue here. Let's take a look at our Porsche track preview, as this VIR is something very, very special indeed.
It truly is. It was opened in 1957 and then reimagined in the year 2000, but it maintained a lot of its old school character and charm, Greg. It's a proper racetrack. You make a mistake here and boy, oh boy, it will certainly have consequences. Just over 3¼ miles, and really challenges the drivers and the setups on the race car. You really need a car that's got good change of direction through the first sector. You need to be able to ride the curbs a little bit, and then you take a visit over one of the most beautiful pieces of real estate in motor racing landscape, and that is up through the climbing S's. Superb stuff. And then getting out of Oak Tree is really a key to this lap, and getting down that back straightaway with good terminal speed, and then a little bit of a roller coaster to finish it off.
And let's see it from an onboard view with that Porsche track preview.
Hello, my name is Max Root. We are at Virginia International Speedway, and we're going around a lap in the 911 GT3R. Turn 1, we're going to brake right around the 250 board, down to second gear. Big exit here, focusing on setting ourselves up for turn 3, where we're going to roll mid-corner speed and get a big exit here. Really focusing on the mid-front balance, down to second gear for turn 4, with emphasis on really smooth power delivery to set ourselves up for a large exit out of turn 6, focusing up towards the S's. The S's are probably my favorite part of Virginia International Speedway, being tight, technical, and flat out in this 911 GT3R. We're going to be approaching the top of this crest at 250 kph, down to 5th gear, really rolling the top end speed here using all the pounds of downforce that we have. Approaching Oak Tree, we are going to be down to 2nd gear, rotating the car, locking the diff, and big on power on the way out. On the back straight here, we're going to be up to 4th, 5th, 6th gear, all the way out, about 260 kph. It's a great time to take a drink, reset for the next couple laps coming, or the driver's change, and focus on hitting your marks. We're going to be at the 50 board, pushing to the top of the roller coaster, down to 2nd gear, focusing on a large exit flat out all the way to turn 16, setting ourselves up for a healthy exit, pushing, floating the speed, and looking eyes up for start finish. Thank you, guys.
That's our Porsche track preview, and you can see why that was such an amazing lap. That was Max Root in the GT3 Porsche. It's incredible stuff. And boy, the speed that they carry up through those climbing S's, that just gets your heart pumping. And so does this field.
Yeah, it's a good way to start the day, to go on board there through those climbing S's. And what a field we have here. Just stacked grid, lots of great storylines. Some people trying to really make hay here with this triple header weekend and really get back into the championship hunt. One car is certainly the one there on the pole in Pro-Am. James Walker Jr., he and Bill Oberlin going for 3 straight here this weekend. Yeah,
they've got both overall wins so far. They've got 3 poles, 1 overall by Bill, but amazing. The qualifying for the first race, the second fastest lap was what set the grid for this one, and James Walker put it on pole for that first race and for this one as well. So they have been awfully strong here, but some serious competition. And up front on that front row, once again, Chris Wilson, Am pairing, he and John Allen, has put that Mercedes on that front row again, and he has shown remarkable pace.
He really has, and they're going for a sweep as well, so they didn't compete at Circuit of the Americas, but by grabbing a couple of wins here this weekend, they've really thrown themselves right into the hunt here for the championship chase. They're now sitting in 3rd, admittedly, 33 points down on Sean Gibbons and Anderson.
Talking about that pole by the number 82, you know, 2 of those poles for James were in the Pro-Am category, not necessarily overall, still very quick laps. Nick Whitmer, who was on pole for the first race, was on pole for this race as well. In that first race, Cal, he checked out from the field and would have won that one going away. He and his co-driver, Harry Gottsacker, were not for some fuel issues. Didn't have quite the run he wanted yesterday. It turns out there was maybe a little damage.
Yeah, there was. I believe that Harry Gottsacker may have got tagged by Jason Hart in the early going yesterday, and that created a bit of a toe-out issue in the rear suspension. So we noted that Whitmer seemed to be overdriving the car. He wasn't overdriving the car. The car just wasn't there for him yesterday. They also had that drive-through penalty. So a tough day, but in terms of championship points, they still finished P4,
yes.
and they still lead the points right now, in the silver category, that is.
You see this absolutely glorious piece of racetrack. This is the Climbing S's that just gets everybody's attention, and it's an absolutely joyful place to watch, let alone drive race cars, as we have 2 formation laps about to unfold. I think important, first race of the day in particular, there's no warm-up, so having that extra formation lap really gives people the time to get heat into the tires, heat into the brakes, and make sure those tires are clean. Didn't have, by my knowledge, any major rain last night, so this track should be nice and grippy, and at its coolest on this day should be fun.
It should be in really good shape, and as you look offline there, I saw the sweepers out there this morning when I was by the track side, so the track should be clean. Saw a lot of marbling yesterday, so the drivers had to be very careful, particularly under caution, that you don't get too much pickup.
We talked about those 2 poles. The AM pole, obviously, was Chris Wilson and John Allen. Now lined up on the inside of the second row. Kind of an interesting story for Andretti Autosport, Ryan.
It is indeed, Greg and Cal. Good morning. Glad to be with you here for race 3 of the weekend for Sprintx. And if you guys have been watching the Sprintx races throughout the weekend and you think, hey, that Andretti Autosport car looks a little bit different, that's because it is. This is normally the car they use for Jarrett's sprint race program. However, because this is the makeup race for a canceled round at Long Beach, and they were planning on running this endurance warranty livery there at Long Beach, they petitioned the series and received permission to qualify it here for Sprintx, which led to kind of a strange situation where both Andretti Autosport cars were actually on track in that qualifying session together. If you go back a couple of days, this race's grid was set by the second fastest time in that session by the second driver, effectively, on the entry list. And so because they had both of their drivers in different cars, they had to take Colin Mullen's second fastest lap from that session. It led to a little bit of confusion all throughout the paddock, but everyone got it squared away, and as you can see, he put in a great time, and they're looking for a good result here this morning.
Yeah, good point, Ryan. If that was his second fastest lap, I'd be curious to know what that fastest lap was, because he wasn't far off from that front row. Top 3 cars were all in the 154 range. Whitmer's 154.1 was just wicked quick, but Chris Wilson had a 154.4, and Mullen, I think, had a 154.8. Then it's 155s for the rest of the field, but it's really, really close in terms of times back in that field.
It really is. It's a tight grid, and we've seen some sensational racing all the way through the field here over the last couple of days. We expect a lot more of that here this morning, and maybe a little bit more risk. I think everyone's mind is the fact that it is a triple-header weekend, so you can't afford to damage your race car to the point that you can't get it fixed overnight for the next day's race. Today, well, a bit of a break till the next round at Sonoma.
Yeah, exactly, which happens in August, so you've got time. So I think that's a really good point. Maybe see a little bit more of a push from some of the teams. Lights out on the Acura NSX, the official safety vehicle of SRO Motorsports America, and the Pirelli GT4 America Sprintx Championship, as the field is starting to queue up, get ready to go. The other story, at the very back of the field, a beautiful blue McLaren from Flying Lizard in the hands of Aaron Vogel and Michael Cooper. They just got behind the 8 ball in qualifying in that very first session. They've had to start at the back in every race. Yesterday, Cooper had a great drive, bringing it up through the field. Then they went to the pit stop, and there was a problem with the door latch, and Vogel had to come back in. So they're just hoping for a clean race today and see what they're going to be able to do with the charge up through the field. We'll see how that plays out as we are getting close to going green for this Sprintx race. 60 minutes of competition, pit stop and driver change right in the middle of it. And this is the 5th round of the championship. Again, this is the makeup race for Long Beach, and the field coming down under the control of Nick Whitmer in the ST Racing GPI Biotech BMW M4 GT4 with Chris Wilson in the Reardon Mercedes alongside. And once again, green flag comes out. You can start passing immediately, only on the initial green. And there it is. And, ooh, Wilson got that time beautifully, Cal.
He really did. He's got his nose slightly ahead. Whitmer has the inside line down into the brake zone. And look at this, the Andretti car with Colin Mullen tries to thread the needle there. Wilson puts a bit of a squeeze on Whitmer. Does he have the grip on the outside, or can Whitmer respond as they come through turn 2?
Boy, he got it done. He cleared him by the time they exited turn 2, Cal. That was a brilliant move by Chris. Now look at, he runs a little wide. Whitmer dives down underneath. Wilson floats out, and is Mullen going to be able to do something with the McLaren? He looked, Cal, thought the better of it.
Yeah, it looked like Wilson had the way there, and then suddenly just got a little bit wide on turn-in for turn 3, just missed his turn-in point, hesitated, and Whitmer was there. And Whitmer's starting on new tires here today. They used some scrubs yesterday, so he should be in good shape in terms of grip. Side by side there with the other ST Racing machine and Michael Dinan.
That's Samantha Tan, and having a good run. And the report yesterday was the reason that car, they had a great run, and we were impressed enough with it, but it becomes even more impressive. They were one of the few cars in the field that ran on used tires for the duration yesterday to save one set of new ones for this race. So let's see what they're going to be able to do here as that number 25 BMW entry from CCR Team TFB, the BMW of Barber and Serralo, having a great second race yesterday and a great qualifying run, Cal, to put them right up near the front.
Yeah, they're having another strong day and an equally strong run right behind them. James Walker on the Pro-Am pole, holds down that 5th position, now coming under the attack by Chandler Hull. He had a big crash yesterday in the sprint race, but rebounded nicely for a big win yesterday afternoon in class, and he's on the attack early once again.
Yep, 3 different categories racing here. Silver, which means 2 essentially pro drivers, then Pro-Am, and then Am. And so some of these battles are for overall, not necessarily for class position, but doesn't make it any less compelling. It's just fabulous racing, and so many of these cars are so evenly matched in their driver pairings.
They really are, and that plays into the strategy when you suddenly do that driver change halfway through. Going to be switching things around a little bit. You got Michael Cooper, for example, going to be taking over that number 30 Flying Lizard McLaren, as now we see Chris Wilson starting to put the heat back on Nick Whitmer, so that Mercedes really has some good grip here as Wilson has kind of got some heat and temperature into those Pirelli P0s and starting to hunt down our leader.
How different a couple of days could make. Remember, as I said in the first race on Friday, Whitmer just checked out and ended up with a 20 or 15-second lead come pit stop time. Chris Wilson having none of that today.
No, he's right there. And we believe the BMWs may have had a little bit of a weight hit overnight. 10 kilos have been added, so they may not have the ultimate pace that they had yesterday, and also over the long run. Remember, in this form of competition, the same set of tires stay on throughout the 60 minutes, even though you have the mandatory driver change midway through at the 25 to 35 minute mark of this race.
Look at Matt Travis, NOLA Sport, tremendous weekend at Circuit of the Americas. Coming out of there, virtually sweeping everything. Things got a little bit more intense here. They did put together a couple of good runs, had a win on the first race on Friday, but yesterday, sort of uncomfortably out of the podium position for them in class, and they're looking to rebound here. Big look here by Nikolai Elganian in that KTM Crossbow.
3 days, that's the latest iteration of the Crossbow, the 2020 version. Been some tweaks on it to just try and get it more in the same dynamic as the rest of the GT4 cars that it competes against. Had some issues, literally just melted the turbo off the engine on Friday, so they've been scrambling and just trying to get some time with this race car, but they're a dynamic duo in terms of the driver pairing, and this car is so unique, and as you can see, just doesn't quite have the speed of the Porsche down the front straightaway, but great handling.
Well, that's the thing. You get to the brake zone, you see he just clears that Porsche easily. It's lightweight, doesn't have the power, but it's so agile. Oh, touch there. I think that was a surprise. Bell kind of was thinking about a move on Elganian and had the door open a little bit, and Charlie Belluardo in the 37 RSI entry just tapped him, Cal.
Yeah, he got a little bit aggressive with the move, and I think maybe possibly the front tires touched each other. Let's take another look at it. Little bump there, opens up the door, then they get side by side, and then suddenly...
That was a...
Yeah, just the tires kind of hit each other. It was actually on the rear and just kind of turned Belluardo and forced him into the grass, and Bell was along for the ride. Oh, and drama here. Looks like you may have some kind of... Oh, you can see the broken right front corner. Broken a tie rod there, so his day is done. That's a shame. That's his 6th of 8 races that he's going to be competing in here this weekend. So it's an early bath, it looked like, for Jason Bell.
They've had 2 top 3 overalls already this weekend. He and Andrew Davis. So they were in for another good one here, and that's going to be very, very frustrating. Top two easing away a little bit from the McLaren of Colin Mullen, third in your screen, then Barber, and then behind them, I think it is still Walker.
Yeah,
So
he's hanging tough. He's doing a really nice job here. I think he's gaining in confidence. We saw last year in the TCR class that each race, each lap, literally, James Walker would improve his pace as he's learning his trade, and he's under great tutelage with Bill Aublin here. He's found a great home with Bimmerworld. He said, they're really looking after me, and it's showing. He's done a great job here, just hanging right at the front here, which will put Bill Aublin in great shape if he can maintain this pace and position till the driver change.
Yeah, when he took over from Oberlin yesterday, that was a really, really stout drive he put in at the end. Wasn't worried about outright speed, just managing the tires and the margin, a position he hasn't been in before because he's always been in single class racing essentially, or single driver racing. So it's a dynamic, but he's adapting to it. And I'll tell you, this weekend a good one for all of the SRO Motorsports fans. That's the team he used to run when he was running in club racing and Saturns and the like, and it's got a huge following, and I guess a lot of them have been tuning in. They picked a good weekend to follow James Walker.
Aaron Vogel's done a really nice job here, Greg. Up to 14th position overall, started at the very back of this 20-car field, so she's cut through. There's obviously been a couple of incidents, but nonetheless, she's done a really nice job. As now we see Jason Bell's car kind of stranded there, coming through turn 5, so if he can't move that car, we could go to a caution here and get the safety car out there.
You're absolutely right. And something has happened with Brian Putt, the number 15 B Sport entry. They've been showing good form, he and Kenton Cook, in that Aston Martin, but they're now at the back and already showing down a couple of laps. Not sure what happened there.
Big day yesterday. Finished second. A very strong performances there. Now getting to grips with this GT4 machinery. Both guys ran in TCR last year. It's a good partnership. Kenton Cook, one of the best drivers we have in our paddock in terms of young talent available to some of these amateurs to learn from.
And we do go full course caution, as that shows now. So the pace car, the Acura NSX safety vehicle, will come out and pick up Nick Whitmer. He has the fastest lap of the race at this stage, a 155.0, but hasn't been able to shake Wilson, and this is going to bring Mullen and the rest of the field right back to him.
Shame that incident happened. I think Valuado was just a little aggressive there. Gave a little love tap on the rear bumper of Jason. That opened up the door, and then somehow they locked horns, and along the way the broken suspension.
Good look there quickly at the second of the NOLA Sport cars, the number 7 in the hands of Sean Givens, and they are having a very good year right now in the AM category here. A 26-point lead after yesterday's race. That NOLA Sport team, they just dial it up.
They really do. They always put very fast cars on the racetrack. Take a look here. This thing develops, everyone's settling in. Valuado just rolls on power, gives him a little tap there. That opens up the door. Jason's a little bit sideways, and then I think you can see contact there on the right side of Jason's car, and broke a toe link ultimately on the front suspension.
Yeah, Belliardo, after that first little tap, it just lifted a little bit. But I think he thought, well, I'm in him and he's going to float wide, I'm going to cut underneath, and it didn't quite pan out like that.
Yeah, and the car's feeling so good. Tires are good. Track is in great shape right now. Coolest part of the day in terms of racing here on the final day of the weekend. So you're feeling good, you're feeling racy, and as we said, maybe a little bit more aggression is being shown in terms of you don't have to have a car that's going to survive for a race tomorrow like we've been thinking about all weekend long.
That's a good point. Well, I just was speculating as to what might have happened to one Brian Putt. Brian? All right, we're going to stay here for just a minute, and there's a look at that blue McLaren you were talking about, Erin Vogel. She made her debut, just did a one-off toe in the water run at Sonoma last year. It's the home track for Flying Lizard, and I think everybody looked and went, wow, she can get after it. I mean, she's been doing a lot of that Porsche Trophy GT3 Cup racing, and had a lot of success there, and transferred immediately to this car.
Yeah, lovely lady. Had a chance to catch up with her at Circuit of the Americas, and you see her weaving around. One thing that Michael Cooper will have reminded her last night is, if we get a caution, make sure you keep those tires clean. That scored him a victory yesterday against Spencer Pumpelly in the sprint race here, where we had a caution, and on hot tires, you're just picking up all of the rubber. It snowballs on the tire. Then when you try to get back to racing under green flag conditions, the grip level is just not there. So we saw Aaron really aggressive there, trying to keep those front tires scrubbed off.
And having a look there at the number 37 in Belluardo, one just checking to see from our vantage point if there's any significant damage on the front of the car. Looks like he got away with it. I suspect once we go back to green, he may be doing a little visit down pit lane with a drive-through, but that's up for the stewards to decide, obviously. And didn't get a chance. Lights are still on the Acura NSX, so apparently it's taking a while to get Jason Bell's car moved. I hear they don't roll so well when you got damage like that, so it complicates things a bit.
Mercedes Formula One car has a system that actually creates toe in and toe out, but that one is not controllable.
Exactly. By the way, the update now on Brian Putt is apparently they have lost a cylinder in that BMW, or excuse me, that Aston Martin power plant, and they were trying to fix it. They don't know that they're going to be able to. They're going to try and get a couple of laps in and see if they did. We'll try and keep you updated on that at this stage, but that is definitely a shame. So they had that, it was a second overall yesterday. Very impressive run.
So everyone just settling in here. You see some drivers electing to start to scrub the tires a little bit. Whitmer is not, neither is Wilson, so let's see if those cars that are doing that, Barber, Walker Jr. and company, can take advantage here on the restart. As we said, the track is relatively clean. They have the sweepers out, and as the races progress, there's a pretty tight time frame between races, so sometimes you can't get the track swept off, and those marbles just continue to collect on the outside of the racing line.
I'm kind of impressed here with this open sequence of laps by Nikolai Elgany in that 71 crossbar right there. And we talk about this is a track where horsepower is king, and as you put it before, it's not just for outright speed, it's for raceability, to be able to hold your own in traffic and the like. And the fact that he's worked his way up into the top 8 overall and 5th in the silver class amongst some pretty stout company with some cars that are arguably a bit stronger in a straight line, he's doing a pretty nice job.
He really is. Seems like they must have been tweaking on it overnight, because it's showing really good pace here today and very much more in the mix, which we expected, because Nikolai has certainly demonstrated immense speed over the last couple of 3 years here in World Challenge competition. Just really working hard on that crossbow to get it to fit within the mix and the dynamic and what we call the melting pot of GT4 machinery.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I believe he had an overall pole at the opening round at yes, he sure did. The second round of the championship at Circuit of the Americas. So that track, that nimbleness through the tight S's and through that sort of stadium section, that car just flew. A little bit different story here, but they just keep on, massaging it. And I think SRO did the right thing with that car when they said, look, we understand that you need a little bit more power, so we're going to add weight, but we'll open up the restrictors for you so that you may not be quite as nimble through the corners, but you'll be able to hang in there a little bit better on the straights. And I think that's a really smart way to go about that BOP.
Yeah, I remember a couple of years ago when Martin Barkey was campaigning the crossbow. I mean, he would put in some sensational qualifying performance. He'd get in a race and just get freight trained down the straightaway. It's super frustrating. Just keep gradually getting bumped back, and that's what we call the raceability. You know, you can have lap time, but if they're just freight training you down the straightaway and then holding you up a little bit through the corners, qualifying is one thing. You can be electric there, but suddenly in the race you just get kind of dominoed down the field.
Not the easiest thing in the world to do the BOP, and they do a pretty remarkable job of it here, and they continue to tweak to try and get everybody in that window. And now we see Jason Bell's car on the hook. Hate to see that. He has had a busy weekend, and it's going to continue. So not sure, based on where the safety car is right now, that they're going to be able to get green this lap, and the lights are still out, so we may have one more lap of caution, Cal.
Yeah, and when you look at the time on the clock, if we do have another caution lap, it's only going to give about probably 7 minutes or so of green flag racing before that pit stop window opens up. And the starting drivers today are the lower graded driver in the field.
Yes.
Admittedly, you got someone like Chris Wilson, who's the same as Joel Allen and typically shows a quicker turn of pace, so they elect to flip-flop their strategy there. But you could see some really early pit stops, so unfortunately for some of the drivers, they're not seeing a lot of green flag action, but it's all about the result at the end of the day, and you have to execute and use the strategy that is the most effective and get that pro in the car as soon as you can.
And what this has done is keep this field incredibly compressed, so when those pros get in the car, this is going to be an absolutely spectacular show, I think, and you've got some great drivers out there. And wanted to mention that car that's second there, that white Mercedes with the black line down it. You see an awful lot of dark maroon on it. Well, that's because John Allen is he's an alumni of Alabama and is very involved with the engineering program when he was there, and also part of the Alumni Engineering Society, etc. And he proudly carries that color, and the graphics package on that car is all about Alabama and the Crimson Tide. Let's go back, take one more look at the start here of the race. So they headed down in, and you can see that move by Wilson.
Yeah, he swings to the outside, then it's just really good, clean, hard racing coming through turn 1. And then on the approach to turn 3, Wilson just gets a little bit wide there, drops the wheels momentarily, and Whitman didn't need a second invitation there. He was through and grabs the lead.
Colin Mullen close to being able to sneak through 2, but realized that might close up in a hurry, and it's early in the race and wisely backed out of it. Then here was the moment when Belluardo got into the side of Jason Bell after tapping him in the back at turn number 1. And Bell's car eventually broken, and that's what caused this caution, which we hope to be getting out of and going back to green this time by. But yeah, they have, what, a couple laps maybe by the time they go green before that pit window opens.
Yes, it's going to be tight, so clock needs to wind down to 35 to go in the race, and then that will open, not necessarily for the leaders first. There's the option whenever the time strikes that could be someone towards the back of the field or mid-pack has the first opportunity. And then there's a question of rolling the dice a little bit. We did see a yellow during the caution, during the pit stop window yesterday, so that can have a big effect in terms of turning things around if you do elect to stay out there a little bit longer. But as we said, we expect the pros to be getting in here as quickly as possible. So
if you're looking at those two ST racing cars, just wanted to mention the graphics on that car is just absolutely beautiful on TV, but you see it up in person, it is superb. And it's a rendering of Van Gogh's legendary Starry Night painting, and they have used that for a long time, and it is pretty, and it's the colors that are going to bring us down the hill and lead us back to green flag here in round 5 of the Pirelli GT4 America's Sprintx Championship. Nick Whitmer rolling into the throttle, and he's got a lot more room this time, and Wilson under attack from Colin Mullen.
Mullen had a great restart there, trying to put it to effect here. That McLaren's got really good straightaway speed. Can he get to the outside flank of Wilson down at the inside? Wilson very late on the brakes. Just moves up a little bit. Look at this. Tim Barber's trying to take the position away from Mullen as they accelerate through turn 2.
Working the outside, and does it.
Yeah, he rolls a lot of speed in. Can he keep it together? Yes, he does. Brilliant move there by Barber. Mullen elects to be a little bit cautious there and give it up wisely.
Sometimes you just got to wait and fight for another day here, and that was a smart move at this point. Everybody up on it right now, and trying to build whatever little margin they can before this pit window opens. There's what we thought might happen, the word from race control, drive-through penalty to 37 Belluardo for that collision.
Someone who's had a poor restart here is James Walker. He's plummeted down the order. Currently being shown down in 11th position. He was 5th overall, so I'm not sure if he got roughed up down into turn 1. But he just got to regroup here and try and get back into a rhythm. Could have been some pickup on his tires, possibly.
Yeah, let's see if we can figure out what happened there, but you're absolutely right. Sits barely hanging on to the top 10 right now.
You see him
in
tails
fact, he's
away,
out of it
chasing Sean Quinlan, who's had a great run from the back of the pack. Had a big shunt in this corner yesterday in the sprint race and elected to skip the final round yesterday, but felt better this morning, so great to see Sean back on the grid here.
And if he elects to run that sprint race, that's going to end the day here. They're going to have to use the same car, so that's going to be in his mind as well, depending upon how he's feeling at this point. Having a look there at Chandler Hull, up to 5th overall. And check that. I think he's now 6th overall. But here was the restart. Oh, he did. That's what happened. He got bumped by Barber.
Yeah, looked like he got bumped, and probably not a lot of grip in the tires either on that initial restart. So he did a good job of just keeping it together and getting back into the pack there. So have to wait and get the tires cleaned off, and now you see him side by side there as they accelerate off of turn 1 in the background. Is up front. Wilson is now starting to put the heat back on Whitmer. It seems like Whitmer's car comes to life very quickly, and it takes a couple of laps for that Mercedes with Wilson to find its groove.
Look at the 47 of Matt Travis, who got around Chandler Hull. Again, that's not a class position change, just overall. But Travis in the Best Energy Group, NOLA Sport Porsche, currently leading in the Pro-Am class. And Chandler Hull behind him now sits 4th in the silver class in that number 26 TAC Energy BMW. So we go back to this little battle here as Wilson is drawn away, seeing if Barber can hang on in front of Mullen here at this stage.
Yeah, and for Jason Hart and his teammate right there, Matt Travis, aboard the NOLA Sport entry, trying to rebound. It hasn't been the smoothest weekends. They were one of the teams that ran out of fuel towards the end of race 1 here on Friday. It was just really warm conditions. We see someone off and back on again. Is that Dynan?
I think that was Dynan in the
black Aston Martin.
Actually, I've been told midnight blue.
Oh,
it's a very deep blue.
I like it.
Yeah, I do too. See the blue in the mirrors, but I guess you get up close and watch it. Look at this. Now Walker starting to attack on Quinlan.
Yeah, just getting back to the Matt Travis situation. They ran out of fuel at the end of Friday's race and didn't have a great run yesterday. So they swept the weekend at Coda, so they're looking for good things here as he currently has the lead in class in the Pro-Am division, 5th overall.
And they had some pretty august company on Friday in running out of fuel. A lot of cars stumbled in that last lap. The heat, the fact it was green, and just a little miscalculation on fuel numbers for a number of the teams, and it sure made for an interesting finish.
Quick correction, I mentioned a 10-kilo change in weight. That's actually for the BMW touring car, not the GT4 machine that we're competing with here in race 1, so my mistake there. So just want to clear that up as Walker now goes back on the attack.
Yeah, he's got to be frustrated because he was so beautifully placed to turn that over, but boy, did he roll some speed there. Quinlan knew it too. He shallowed up his exit because he did not want to give Walker an opportunity to flow through. Interesting. I'd love to be able to hear the radio right now, isn't it, with Oberlin talking to James right now about here's what you need to do.
Well, they've had a couple of big off-course excursions. The start of the race yesterday, there was a wave off, and Bill Oberlin got absolutely nailed down in the brake zone, which is effectively under caution, and some debris flying through there, through the high-speed S's. Ain't sure if someone's been off in front of this group, and Quinlan there a little bit wide through turn 10. Keeps it together, though. He recognized he was wide of the marks and just controlled the speed. Otherwise, you're going to take a rough ride there. Great run here from Erin Vogel.
I was just going to say,
she's putting in here today.
Storming up through this field. Yeah, and that hit, the damage to the back of that BMW, I mean, it got into the exhaust. It was pretty extensive. And Bill just kept building the margin, and James brought it home. But, yeah, it was a great recovery and drive here. Let's see if he's got anything in the brake zone. He looked like he was closing pretty dramatically. He had really a nose there, didn't he?
Yeah, his car is working well. Again, just don't throw it all away. Yep. Oberlin will be up on the wheel big time when he gets behind the wheel. So for James Walker, I'm sure he's looking at that yellow and white Porsche Cayman from NOLA Sport disappearing a little bit. He wants to try and close that gap somehow, and to do that, he's probably got to get around Quinlan before the pit stop window opens and he turns over the reins to Bill Oberlin. It can happen as soon as the next lap, looking at the clock right now.
Quinlan defending big time. Walker going to try and work the outside.
Just got to be careful. You get halfway through this race and suddenly the grip level is just not there. It feels like the right thing to do, but you just can't get to power soon enough. And that inside line just seems to give you better traction off.
Quinlan once again is making sure he's just center of the track, giving Walker very little options at the exit of 3 into 4. I watched Walker seemed to carry a lot more speed because of that line through turn 10. I wonder if he would try something into 11, up into Oak Tree.
Well, possibly, but if I was him and if I was the team, I'd just say, just bring it in this lap.
Yep.
Let's get it in Bill's hands. You've done a good job. You've kept it together. That little moment, maybe got a nudge there coming on the front straightaway that cost him dearly, but don't take a big risk here. They're back in the championship hunt. They 6th second in the points right now. 10 points behind Jason Hart and Matt Travis.
Yep. And after these driver exchanges, a car to keep an eye on here, because this has been a superb run by Jeff Burton in the number 91 Reardon Racing Burton Lumber entry, 2nd in the Pro-Am class right now. And you put Vesko Kozarov in that car, it's going to set sail as well. So Burton doing a brilliant job. But this battle is continue to be fascinating.
Let's see who's the first to blink here, who's going to hit pit lane here and turn over the reins to their other driver. I think that Bimmerwald will be bringing James in this lap. Travis is in.
He's in, and Burton pits, Dynan pits, Quinlan pits, Walker pits, Vogel pits, as you said. Everybody queuing in here.
71 seconds is the minimum stop time from pit in to pit out as Jason Hart now gets ready to jump in, looking for their 3rd victory of the season. As we say, these triple header weekends can work for you. This has not worked so far for this group, but they're trying to get the big points here today and extend their championship lead.
Up front, not a surprise. See Whitmer and Wilson staying out. Whitmer has been mega impressive here, and realizing that he wasn't overdriving that car, he was just trying to hustle the car. Here's Samantha Tan in, and she'll be turning over to John Miller. And Miller has had an overall fast lap here this weekend. He has been very much on form, but I'll tell you, Samantha has impressed here this weekend with her pace.
She really has. I mean, she's been under the tutelage of Nick Johnson as a mentor and just trying to really ramp up her physical fitness and all aspects of the game. She's been doing a really nice job, but they want to get it to the next level. So he's been working alongside her during the off season, and she's really responding to that. See a replay here. Wide there and takes a bit of a rough ride as he comes off of Oak Tree, and that gives Wilson the run as Whitmer has to get out of the gas.
Tucks right back in behind. And now he is, in fact, 2nd. That's a good point. Couple of amazing stops here, Cal. The exchange from Walker to Oberlin, 0.8 of a second over. That's about as close as you want it. Closer still, a half a second over. Vogel to Michael Cooper, and Tan to Miller's short.
Yeah, they get that 1 second joker, so they should be okay. As long as you're within a second of what the minimum stop time is.
When Wilson got to the front and put in the fast lap of the race, a 154.7. Right now that tops in the race here. Everybody stops looking a lot sharper for the most part today, as you would expect. Unfortunately, Dynan to Robbie Foley, that one was fairly significantly long. And they were well placed to be a serious contender here as well. Here's Elganian turning over to Mats Siljahaug.
What a unique car. You see the whole bodywork lifts up, jump in. It's like something out of a Batman movie.
It looks very much like that. Without the flame out the exhaust, it runs pretty darn well too. That's a good sign when you're doing the change and you just sit for a little bit. They have plenty of time to sit. Boy, they got that done. That driver change was done at 55 seconds, Cal. That's impressive.
Yeah, that one works out. They should be nice and tight to the minimum. Yeah, 2/10 under with the joker. That should be okay. So everyone's getting tuned and dialed into that 1 second joker time, as we call it, where you can be underneath. Oh, that's really late. That's tricky.
Oh, man.
Andretti does have tire temperature. There's no tire change there, but even so, when you're up to speed and suddenly someone's coming out of the pit, so this is a battle for position.
Jason Hart is a seriously quick driver.
Running in different class. Silver category for the Andretti Endurance Warranty Machine. He and Colin Mullen.
Ooh.
He's up on the wheel early, as you would expect. Jared Andretti cut his teeth in 10-minute short races in midgets, so it doesn't take him long to get warmed up. Look at that beautiful float of speed that Jason Hart has there. That was superb. That's what that section of the racetrack is all about. Just love it.
Yeah, it's just a great place to watch, let alone drive, that's for sure. There he comes up through Oak Tree. Miss having that big, beautiful tree there. You don't have the oak fuzz on the track anymore you have to deal with. But still in all, this is really interesting watching this battle here.
See, McLaren just stretches the Porsche a little bit there, but Jason and the NOLA Sport team have really got that race car dialed in. That Porsche seems to be handling superbly well. A bit of a quiet day yesterday for Andretti Autosport.
It was.
Wasn't their normal fighting out for victory that we've seen typically on a weekend. So let's see what they've come up with overnight for these final rounds.
So these are the first cars on the track that have pitted, Andretti and Hart. So it's going to be fascinating to see how the pit stops unfold for the four in front. Wilson in the Mercedes, Whitmer in the BMW, Barber in the BMW, and Hull in the BMW. When that pit stop time comes, whenever they look, I would suspect it would be in the maybe even the next lap. You just don't want to get trapped.
Yeah, the key is if you cut it too close and then you have a bobble or a quick spin or get hit on the lap that you're coming in, suddenly you're going to be serving a penalty as Jason Hart continues to work over Andretti. He looks to the inside. Jarrett doesn't want to give it up, even though they're not fighting for a class position. They're both pushing really hard, recognizing that some of the cars have yet to pit. There's still another 3.5 minutes on the board. You don't have to have completed that pit stop, just be on pit lane by the time the clock gets to 25 minutes flat.
I think Hart, with that look inside, was hoping that Andretti would float just a little bit wide as a result. And Andretti, one thing we've seen with him is he doesn't fold under pressure.
Yeah, and I think flashing the headlights is going to do nothing but kind of make him angry.
Yep.
I don't think you're going to intimidate him with that. I was going to use a different word, but I'm trying to keep it clean.
All right, key corner here. We talked about this a bit yesterday, the irony of and it's affected a lot of racetracks. Well, Hart got out of there incredibly well this time.
Well, his car is just working well. I think the Andretti team just haven't quite got the setup absolutely aced here this weekend. It's very effective. They're certainly at the sharp end, but just seems to be a little bit wide in some of the corners, just not tucking in, just doesn't seem to have the mechanical grip that the Porsche does.
It does seem to have just that little bit more leg right at the end of that long straight, and that's nice to have in your pocket for sure.
Love this section. It's so tricky coming off there. You're looking down the road, you're feeling the edge of the road, and if you drop a wheel, you're along for a big ride there on the exit of Hog Pen.
All right, Chandler Hull is ducked in. We'll keep an eye on that stop. Oh, it's a bit long. Yep. About almost 5 seconds long as Hart again to the outside.
He is working it. He's going to tuck it in. He's going to get him. Yeah,
that was
nice job. That was really nice racecraft there by just pushing Andretti down at the inside. We know that Jared likes to run that kind of early turn in shallow angle of attack to the corners, but then suddenly you're asking the car to do an awful amount right at apex. And he was just able to take advantage of that as we see some of the final runners, the two leaders, in fact, now hitting pit lane, Chris Wilson and Whitmer.
Now this is going to be crucial to nail these stops. And we'll see if Barber comes in or if he elects to stay out. He's in as well. So
yeah, I think they're all going to come in. They wouldn't get another lap looking at the clock, Greg.
Yeah, good point. So this stop is massive here. Looks like Chris struggling to get out of the car.
Doesn't want to get out.
Oh, that's it. That's it. Yeah, he was disgustingly fresh at the end of a very busy day for him yesterday. Also running in the GT3.
He's pulling a Bob Wallach when he out of the car.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, here's the exchange. Whitmer to Gallagher. Keeping an eye on these times, of course. Barber is going to be turning over to Cole Serralo. You hear that count? That's the time. That's the release time that they're yelling. Well, this could be a problem. Oh, they got it done, they think.
There was a delay.
Yep.
That was definitely at least a second there that they gave up.
So
just
let's
in terms
see.
of giving him the go.
We're watching it. 1:11.4 for that exchange. Long stop to Wilson's exchange. So Whitmer Gottsacker nailed it. Oh, and a beautiful stop. Half a second under, so with the joker for Barber. Here we go. That's the battle right there, Cal.
It is, and that's why Jason Hart wanted to be pushing hard and get around Andretti and maximize his lap time, because now everyone's shuffled through. It's going to have an effect on his overall position. You see Gottsacker up to speed, so I believe Gottsacker should have the lead here, and it should be Jason Hart up to second, I believe. Just wait for timing and scoring to complete the cycle here.
Yeah, they nailed that stop. That was exactly what they needed to do. Half a second over. Here's the rest of it, and a tremendous stop for Barber turning over to Serralo. We talked about it a bit yesterday. I mean, we know Barber, you know, pretty solid skill set, but Serralo stepping up from TCA last year, this is an opportunity for him to really showcase what he can do up near the front. There's John Allen, the car that was leading. That is the Reardon Racing Mercedes.
And there's Grahovic, Celia Haugen, the crossbow, and then Bill Oberlin trying to sweep the weekend. He has got a lot of work to do to get that Pro-Am win. He's got to cut through 6 cars to get to Jason Hart. And I think without a yellow, that's going to be an awfully tall order for Bill Oberlin here today.
Keep in mind for Allen, he needs to be smart, because he's in the AM class, and he's the AM class leader, 3rd overall, 2nd in AM is 14th. So he's got a lot of room between himself and that 2nd place AM car. So if somebody's really attacking on him, smart move for John, who is a true amateur, is just to say, go ahead.
Yeah, and watch this. Oberlin's going to try and time this run out of hog pen, maybe have an attack on the crossbow and John Allen here as they get down towards turn 1. Here he comes, trying to find the draft. Now he's got to find a lane. Threads the needle.
Look at that.
That was nice.
Yep.
A few years experience behind the wheel of a BMW, Bill Oberlin.
Just a smidge. The guy that's next up in front of him that he's going to get, Toby Grahovic, that will be for 5th. Grahovic's going to have to do a drive-through. Just got word from race control. Apparently a little fast in pit lane on the in or the out. Not sure what part of it.
That's tough. It's going to cost you around 30 seconds to the field in terms of coming down pit lane at 50 kilometers an hour compared to flat out on the racetrack. So that's going to plummet them down the order as competitive as it is here today.
You can see how good that crossbow is in that snake section of the track. Celia Hogg just hanging right with Oberlin. Ooh, that was close.
Leah Fuge there looking for a way by Vesko Kozarov.
That's never easy. Vesco's probably going to try and beep now.
May tuck it to the inside here into Oak Tree. Yes, he does.
Oh!
So I am leader going for a ride there. I mean, I think Vesco legitimately had the inside line, and John was not expecting that and just started to turn into Oak Tree Apex and got clipped.
I would agree. They say no driver owns the corner. It's a joint scenario, but Vesco was clearly there.
Yeah. And tries to get up on the curb a little bit to give him some room. So it's the 2nd time this weekend that John Allen's been backwards in this corner. But he's still looking for a sweep, so let's see if he can recover here and see where he ends up.
Well, the first,
No, he's in the grass.
the first time that happened, they went on and got the class win.
This is where it's difficult, just the high slope angle there. So how to get the race car back towards the blacktop.
Hot race tires. Question is,
The problem is as well as he's turned into a bit of a lawnmower there in terms of packing that radiator grill with grass.
and here comes Grahovic into the pits, serving that drive-through penalty. And he's had one of those years. All last year, he had a slew of seconds. He had seconds to start the season off. He got the win yesterday and was elated and hoping to, all right, now let's get this going. And then this happens.
He's such a great driver, so consistent, and always knocking on the door of victory. And I'm not beating him up with this, but I just think a slight degree more aggression will get him more wins.
Yeah. He's certainly got the pace. Here's Oberlin now, has managed to ease away a little bit from Mr. Silja Haug. He's one unique looking car, but goodness. You get into the twisty stuff, like Sonoma, they got to be licking chops for Sonoma.
Yeah.
Oh! He's trying to flow some speed, backs it in.
It's just that corner we talk about it, Greg. It looks so enticing. Hey, I'll just carry a little bit more speed through and you just get out in the gray. And as the race goes on, there's less and less grip there as you're really asking for that left front to bite and turn into oak tree.
Right.
It's caught out some of the best in the business over the years. And caught out one of our young rising stars there in Matt Silja.
And right now, this number 7, the NOLA Sport AM entry, has now assumed the lead. Zach Anderson up behind the wheel of that car after that off, and then that long ride through the grass for John Allen. He has plummeted down the order.
So NOLA Sport now leading 2 different classes here today.
Which is what they did at Circuit of the Americas. They swept both the Pro-Am and the Am classes there. That's a stout weekend for a team, and they're looking to have a good one here with Zach Anderson having taken over from Sean Gibbons. Looking at the margin up front, Gottsacker to Hart right now, it's a little over 5 seconds, that margin. Then Andretti's very close. Then they've eased away a bit from Cole Serralo. So you take a look at it here. There Gottsacker. And on Friday's race, he took over after the stop with a huge lead today and just needed to manage it. Today, he's had to pedal and get the job done, and he's done it to perfection. Here he is really flying right now.
He is. He's running high 55s. Jason Hart is matching him lap for lap. Andretti's a sniff quicker running in 3rd, but the man who's on the charge is Bill Aublin, running lap times about a second faster than the rest of the field right now. So he's trying to cut into that gap and see if he can get to that NOLA Sport entry before time runs out.
Yeah, just looking, if he can get there, that's the class win. That's the important one. See what he's able to do. And Michael Cooper, just keeping an eye on that flying lizard McLaren, has worked his way up into 4th in Pro-Am, 7th overall after a very impressive opening stint by Aaron Vogel, who got that car up mid-pack and gave factory pilot Michael Cooper, the McLaren factory driver, a chance to do something here. And he's about 3.5 seconds shy of 19 Greg Leafoge in that Stephen Cameron Racing BMW. So that could be a good little scrap here.
Well, I think we're going to see that 30-car Visit Victory Lane this year. I mean, it's a really strong driver combination with Aaron and Michael, and a great team. Jim Bell, the engineer.
Wow, this is
pit lane speed violation for the 28 car.
Oh my. Oh,
wow. 2 days in a row that they've had to serve a penalty. It wasn't for pit speed yesterday. I think it was for protocol. Crew not back over the wall before they were released yesterday. So this is devastating. See where they, and they're going to lose
8th.
And dropping down the class order by quite a chunk as well. Andretti now takes over that silver lead, 2nd overall. Jason Hart now leads. We're looking at him right there. See, Andretti's not too far behind him, been clipping off laps a little bit quicker than Jason. So Jason had the advantage early, Greg, in this run.
Yes.
And now Andretti's coming back at him a little bit.
And I think I saw in the background that Oberlin has gone through already in Serralo.
Well, there's enough time on the board.
Yes,
he was running laps a second quicker than the leaders, so don't count him out just yet. He certainly hasn't said game over.
It's be interesting for Serralo to just try and stay with him a little bit and go, where is he finding this kind of speed? What is he doing?
Yeah, again on that last lap, he was 9/10 quicker than the leaders. So when you look at the clock, he has got enough time left here. He's about 6 seconds back of the leaders. And more than enough time to get it done if he can maintain. But getting around Andretti and then Hart is going to be not an easy order. But here he comes.
Oh, man. Yeah, neither of those guys in front of him are easy passes by any stretch. Bill's been in this game a while, so this is going to be a really phenomenal duel, I think.
And I think that if Andretti can get to that Porsche, that McLaren is showing about 8K, about 5 miles an hour more straightaway speed in the trap speed down towards the roller coaster. So he has speed there, straightaway speed, if he can just get close enough to him.
Yeah, exactly. Cooper's actually lost a little ground to Leafoge, and he's got John Miller coming up on him right now, and I wonder if an Aaron's charge, which she had to do to have any shot at it, to come up through the field, since you don't change tires, if maybe those Pirellis are just a little bit beyond their, what do they call it, sell-by date?
Shelf life.
Yeah, exactly. Miller looking, but Cooper rolling a lot of speed around the outside.
He is, and typically that inside line gives you a bit more bite, but Michael's up to the task there and just feeling out. Has just phenomenal racecraft, Michael Cooper.
Yes.
He has speed and just really savvy and reads the race, makes the right decisions. He noticed yesterday during that sprint race that it was going to be a very short yellow, so he immediately got some tire scrub going and pounced on Spencer Pumpelly to grab a win yesterday and vault him back into the lead in the GT4 sprint category.
Yeah, and he's one of the best opening lap drivers I've ever seen. You know, I mean, that's what kept him in that championship last year when they didn't really have a handle on that McLaren in the sprint championship. Was his opening laps. He would pick up 3-4 spots and put him right in play. Speaking of picking up spots, Oberlin now is within 5 seconds of Andretti, and Oberlin just turned a 154.8.
Yeah, that's compared to Hart's 55.6. Andretti in the middle there are 55.4. So he's certainly showing the pace here to catch these guys. You wonder if Jason's tires have maybe plateaued a little bit. Maybe they started with a slightly higher pressure, may have peaked on the pressure, or just a little bit of tire degradation with the monster pace that he and Travers have shown here today.
And one of the gifts of a driver of Bill's caliber, world-class driver for sure, is being able to find speed without taking a lot out of the tires, especially when you're used to doing longer races than this. Ooh, Andretti got a run that time. Yeah, not quite enough.
He's definitely hunting him down. It seems like Jason just can't quite flow the same sort of speed that he was earlier in the race, but he's savvy. He'll just try and place the car in exactly the right spot, really key on getting off Oak Tree Corner effectively, because I think that's where this McLaren may have enough of an edge, as we now see Miller down to the inside and make that move stick on Michael Cooper.
Yeah, Miller is, you know, it's fun when you're part of announcing a series for a while, as we have been, Cal. You know, I remember watching John Miller in the touring cars. We kind of dubbed him Mr. Excitement, because he would just get, you know, behind the wheel, throw the car around and the like. And just watching him progress into really one of the finest drivers in the series right now. He's really valued as a coach, as a co-driver, and is just quick.
Tell you what's good to see is Kozarov and Burton's car has a little bit more pace today. He's hanging here. It seemed like they were really struggling yesterday. I'm not sure if they had any kind of technical issues with the social distancing. It hasn't allowed us to get in the paddock as much, Greg, and talk to the teams as we like to, so communication has not been in its norm, but it just seemed like they were struggling a bit.
Yes, I think they hit something, and Burton gave that car a great drive in that opening stint too. Ooh, here we go, Andretti looking.
Well, Jason's got to be careful. I saw him do this yesterday where he left that left lane, and with the advantage that Andretti has, you know, if he gets alongside him, then you're not turning as much when you're on the left side of the road as opposed to coming from the middle of the road for that brake zone. And if these two start to duke it out, that's going to aid Bill Oberlin.
Yes. Well, that's the biggest thing right now. Is the last thing Hart wants to do is really aggressively defend and slow them down. You want to give Bill Oberlin help, but with Andretti attacking, Andretti knows that if he can get through, he's probably looking a lot quicker, Cal.
He is side by side here. I'm not sure you're going to get the bite on the outside there. You probably lose a car length or two there. He does that exactly. So that's not going to work. You got to put that in the notebook and not try that again. There's no point in giving up pace, as we see Greg Leofouge making a move here.
Changing the overall position, that'll put him up into fourth. But he's a Pro-Am, and the car he just passed, Cole Serralo, was silver. So Serralo's still sitting second in that silver category. But Oberlin, when that last lap started, he was 4.8 back. He's 3.1 back at the completion of that lap. That was a massive lap that Bill threw in.
Yeah, it's like start the Jaws music.
Yeah.
Here he comes, and it's going to be fascinating to see how he deals with these two cars battling. If we have three tied together,
yeah,
it could be a great final 5 minutes of this race, because a couple more laps and he's going to be really tight to these guys.
And do keep in mind, Hart leading overall, leads Pro-Am. Andretti second is the silver class points leader. Leader in class right now. Then Oberlin second in Pro-Am. So that's another dynamic you watch for, is that at what point does Andretti, he loves his overalls, but at what point does he go, yeah, I don't want to be a part of this?
Yes. It just seems like Jason, we're not really seeing him how they launch off of Oak Tree, but he's getting enough of a gap that even though the McLaren has a little bit more straightaway speed, he's not close enough, and it's allowing Jason just to take his normal line. He's doing a really good job under immense pressure here not to crack Jason Hart. He's just really hitting his marks and maintaining that lead, but he will know, his team will be telling him the lap times that Oberlin is doing, and he'll know the math. I mean, a lot of these drivers are so savvy, Greg. They'll know how many laps they got to go, and they'll be doing the math in their head. If he's cutting in by 0.8 to a second a lap, he's going to be there with 2 or 3 laps to go.
Just an update in the M category. It's the 7 of Zach Anderson from NOLA Sports still leading. John Teesey, though, has had a great drive, taking over from Tom Collingwood, who had a good opening stint, and has put the number 69 BGB Porsche second in AM. Bit of a margin first to second, but Derek DeBoer has closed in on TC in the number 17 LaSalle Solutions, Presidio Surgical and U.S. Rehab Centers TRG Porsche, and is less than a second in a great battle for second place in that AM category. And this time, Oberlin, the margin 2.7.
Yeah, not so big.
No.
That's the first time we haven't seen a big gain by Bill Oberlin, just a couple of tenths on the leader. So maybe he's had to use too much out of those Pirelli P0s and lost their effectiveness in this critical last 8-9 minutes of this race. So Jason Hart will have got that information. That may give him a little giddy up.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's a look at that team car of Jason Hart. And here's that battle we were just talking about. And Derek DeBoer really working over John Teesey now.
2 great prep shops going hard up against it.
Yeah, aren't they?
The TRG LaSalle Solution entry going up against the BGB Motorsports car. And Derek is really a great racer. He's putting some great performances over the last couple of years, and you know he's going to want to try and get this position here.
Yeah, Anderson's out of reach without some help, but, you know, second step's better than the third. But certainly John Teesey, pretty experienced as well. He's not just going to let that happen. But Derek looks like he's got some speed right now. See if he's going to be able to do anything here. Jim Rappaport, Dr. Jim, who he shares the car with, had a very solid opening stint. He had a couple of offs in his start stint on Friday.
Oh, look at Derek, really deep on the brakes there. He's feeling it. Got to be careful on that outside groove there. Yep. Now the kids just get on the power early. Try and get that launch. Seems like his car is working really well. He's able to put it exactly where he wants it to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, placement's been great. But as I said, just wanted to give a shout out to Jim Rappaport, who really put in a good stint this morning before he turned it over to Derek. Derek got it. Looked like he got the run out of Oak Tree, but just not quite enough.
Tell you what, Jason Hart has responded. His fastest lap of the race, a 1:55.0. So Oberlin only gained 1/10 of a second. That is critical.
Yeah, it is.
And suddenly, that charge has been stymied a little bit by Bill Oberlin on our race leader, Jason Hart.
Well, we talk about Jason Hart and his speed, but he's also got a lot of racecraft experience, and I wonder if he was just going fast enough to stay in front of Andretti and making sure he did it with a minimum attack on the tires to have something left in those Pirellis for exactly this type of a scenario.
Certainly could be the case. Oh, TC in there really deep. May have just gone into the ABS a little bit. Looked like the car went a little bit numb there as he needed it to turn. Derek not quite close enough to take advantage, but he keeps the pressure on.
Beautiful look at that LaSalle Solutions TRG machine. Derek giving it really floating some speed there.
Yeah, they got that car working so well. The mechanical grip there through the tight, twisty stuff seems to be on point.
Derek's wife is a really good videographer who's been doing a little documentary series called Fast Life TV that you can Google and find on a couple of different platforms. Really good stuff as well. And we are coming up on 5 minutes remaining. This is where Derek really has speed.
Yeah. You got to be so
trying
careful
to squeeze
there.
him here.
Ooh, it's going to be tight. That's going to be super tight. What a move. What a move. Great clean racing between the two of those drivers. Great respect. And Derek had obviously thought about it the lap before and put it in the back of his mind and executed perfectly, but it took a little bit of racing room to be given by John Teesey there.
I was going to say that that pass, a lot of that happened through tremendous sportsmanship by John Teesey.
Where's Andretti?
So, oh, got a replay of something happening here. Got up on that curb really hard. Oh, and that's loose.
Right,
Yeah.
so it's Hart from Oberlin now for the overall positions and in classes. Jarrett gets it back on the road, hopefully with no damage. But I tell you what, Jason Hart has responded. He is matching Bill Oberlin blow for blow now. And time is running out for Oberlin to sweep this weekend with James Walker Jr.
Yeah. I really think Hart may have just been brilliant in tire management there. Well, Bill had no option but to go for it. And the key for Andretti back on track here when he came through, he's still got about 8 seconds between himself and Cole Serralo. The car in between them, a Greg LeFauge. The Cameron Racing entry, that orange and blue BMW, that's another Pro-Am car, so it's not part of the Andretti Serralo and John Miller battle. And Miller has made a heck of a run here, Cal. He's closed up now on Serralo, only about 3 seconds off, but running out of time.
What a great bounce back for Sean Quinlan and the Stephen Cameron Racing team with Greg LeFauge to get that car up into a podium run here. Our defending class champions from last year. Really strong performance once again after a difficult weekend at times.
Starting dead last in every one of these races, and they're in this position, Cal. And great drive today by both.
That should answer Sean's question about whether he's going to do the Sprintx later today. He'll be fired up. He wasn't sure how he was going to feel. Didn't feel well enough yesterday afternoon to compete. Felt better this morning and certainly strutted his stuff early in this race. Now his teammates behind the wheel.
Again, this Andretti LeFauge battle, not for class position, just overall. Oberlin, this time he took a chunk out of Hart once again, Cal, and he's got that down to 2.5 seconds.
Well, there's no give up in Bill Oberlin,
Yeah.
so we'll have to wait and see how many laps we end up with, whether there's a lap and a half to go or 2.5 laps. I'm not quite sure how they'll factor in here. Kind of halfway around the lap here, so for Bill Oberlin, what he needs to do is to see Jason Hart continue to push and beat the clock in terms of time not running out. Not at the end of this lap, but the following lap. Oh, Andretti. Dirt tracking it through Oak Tree.
He's got still about that same 8.5 to 9 second margin back to Serralo.
And I think looking at the clock, I've got a feeling that there's going to be 2 more laps to go for our leaders. Here he comes in a lap time of 1:55. So yeah, I think they're going to get there probably around the 2-minute mark or a little bit over. So that'll mean this will not be the white flag lap.
And it was 2.58 seconds. Hart to Oberlin last time. As they flash through this time, the margin 1.7.
And 2 laps to go.
Oh boy.
So he took 8/10 out of him. Double that is 1.6 seconds, and he's 1.7 seconds behind.
This is going to be fascinating.
Andretti's just really lost the rear of that car in terms of the grip. Balance has gone away on him, and LeFauge, even though it's not a battle for class position, they're all races. I think the class thing goes out of the way.
I agree completely a lot of the time.
Oh, look at Andretti. He is really just hanging on by his fingernails right now.
You think he clouded that curb? He may have knocked the toe off or something
It's
a little
possible.
bit? Because it
That's
sure
possible.
suddenly looks. I mean, he had dirt and grass and junk on the tires, but
He's
by
used
now
to that.
yeah, that should have cleaned up too. So LeFauge, one thing we know about Greg is he is relentless and fast.
For our leaders, first sector, Hart and Oberlin identical, so no advantage to Bill Oberlin. The gap will stay the same. Sector 2 is where Oberlin has been quick. It seems to be that's where he gains a lot today. You can see him up ahead there.
Yep.
They crest the hill down Madison Avenue.
Just an update now. John Miller is within half a second of Cole Serralo for second in the silver class. So that battle is really, really stout as well. And Kozarov is within 7/10 of Cooper for 4th in that class. We got some great battles on the track
We
here.
do throughout the field. Auckland took 4/10 out of the lead in sector 2 alone. Not sure it's going to be enough. It's going to be tight, but Jason Hart may just have enough to hang on as we watch this battle continue for 3rd overall.
All right, here we go. Jason Hart coming through, starting the final lap here of round 5. And there's Oberlin, that close.
Down to a second. Took 7/10 out once again. He's going to be
man.
right on his rear bumper if he maintains this pace.
And that battle up front is class and overall. It's huge. This is a good battle, but it's not for a class position. It's compelling racing, but that Hart-Oberlin battle, that is huge right now.
Jason Hart has to keep it going. He has to keep it going. He cannot afford to give up that position to Oberlin because it is for the class position as well. But Jason Hart is really good through the first sector. You can see that Oberlin really has made no ground on him through that sector. Sector 2 is where Oberlin's really good, which is up through the S's, through Oak Tree, and down that back straightaway.
All right, here we go, and here's that run.
Hart actually extended the lead by 2/10 in sector 1. That is so important. That will take the pressure off a little bit.
Again, really interested to hear from him at the end of this race. If he was really driving the tires for a while there to make sure he had something. And there comes Oberlin swinging out of Oak Tree on the hammer. It's down to a matter of car lengths now, but it's last lap. Here comes that other battle. Andretti still hanging on in front of Leafoge. Miller attacking on Serralo behind these two. That's an immense battle as well. Bill's flashing the lights. Anything he can do.
He's going to keep digging. Takes it in super deep there. Just keeps it together. Yeah, he made up 4/10. That's that middle sector where he's really dynamite. Took 4/10 out of the lead once again on Jason Hart. But Jason Hart seems to have enough to hang on, Greg.
He does. Flows it down through Hogpen. Mistake-free onto the front straight. Oberlin even a little closer in his mirrors than he has been. But NOLA Sport, after a great start to the season at Circuit of the Americas, rebounds to win round 5 at Virginia International Raceway. Jason Hart and Matt Travis with Oberlin and Walker a close second, 0.7 at the line. And Andretti hanging on to 3rd overall, winning the silver category. And behind these guys is the battle for 2nd in silver. And it was Miller, got around Serralo in that last sequence of corners. Unbelievable run.
Fantastic stuff. Motor race, that was fun.
And Cooper hung on over Kozarov. And Gottsacker recovered to end up at least top 4 in class. So a good run there. And there is Zach Anderson on his way to another win in the AM category for NOLA Sport. And his teammate, Sean Gibbons. They won the opener at Circuit of the Americas, then just missed the podium, and then they come back and are going to put another win in the books here, and they already had a pretty substantial point lead in that class. Callison 26 points. That's just growing.
Yeah, big day for NOLA Sport.
Yep. Double win.
Class victory. Great stuff. Exactly what they needed to do, because I tell you what, Oberlin and Walker with that sweep of the first 2 races here this weekend to close that points gap on this car down to 10 points.
Yeah.
But as you said, it's a big point swing between 1st and 2nd of 7 points, 25 to 18. They needed that. They needed that badly. What a way to go. Great run by Matt Travis and then his teammate Jason Hart, thwarting off the challenge there from Bill Oberlin. Just a superb performance.
So here is a look at the provisional results, and as you take a look, if it's the white background with the black number, that's a silver category car. Andretti Autosport winning it with Colin Mullen. And John Miller just getting around Cole Serralo late in the going to grab 2nd over the Serralo Barber entry. 4th is Gottsacker Whitmer, and 5th Elganian and Siljahaug. And then your AM winner, Sean Gibbons and Zach Anderson, who brought it home. James Rappaport, Derek DeBoer getting a nice clean run, and that's just what they needed and put it together. But what a compelling battle up front. Oberlin making up a huge amount of time and getting within 7/10 of a second at the end. But I think Jason Hart just did a marvelous job. I really think that in that battle he had with Andretti for a while when they were so close, that he was driving slow enough to stay in the lead. You know what I mean? Interesting to find out, but nonetheless, big win for Andretti in silver.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, so important to finish off this triple header weekend with a strong performance. So pressure was on a lot of those guys, and they delivered.
They did indeed. I mean, Whitmer and Gottsacker had a big lead in that silver category, and Andretti, they came in sitting third, but only 4 points out of second, so they've closed that up fairly significantly here as Bill Oberlin comes in and gets the indicator of which line he's supposed to queue up in here. Boy, what a weekend for these guys. 2 overall wins, 2 class wins, and a second. 3 poles in class, and here's a look at the highlights. And Chris Wilson just made a beautiful move at the start.
He did, just took it in there deep, managed to get the lead, but watch this as he turns in for turn 3, just a little bit wide. Whitmer just pounces immediately and back to the front.
Wilson hangs on to second as Colin Mullen had to think better of it, thought he might be able to sneak through, but he had pressure from Barber in the 25 BMW right behind him. And then a couple of big moments here and a big move here as Charlie Belluardo tapping Jason Bell, and then the secondary contact took him off.
It did, and unfortunately broke the suspension on Jason Bell's car. He'd see no further action. Up front, here we see a little bit of a ride by Whitmer, and that allows Wilson to pounce and take the lead back once again.
And this big moment here as Andretti went in, got a little hot on turn in, and Jason Hart had set him up beautifully, squared up underneath, and made it work. Then Bill Oberlin, that's a needle thread right there.
Yeah, just cutting his way to the front of this field and went to chase down our leaders. Didn't quite have enough or enough time. Either way you look at it, close run, under a second at the flag, but a win, and a second. Then unfortunate moment here for our AM leader. John Allen just turns in as Kozlov had taken that real estate away from him. Little touch, and that cost him dearly.
Then Andretti clipping the curb a little hard, loosened the car up, got him into the grass, and he was up front battling in the overall lead. This dropped him back just a little bit. Like you said, though, hung on for the silver victory as Nola Sport, Hart, and Travis won Pro-Am. This was the win at the end for the silver category for Andretti, with Leia Foge, a different class, right there. And then Anderson and his teammate, of course, Sean Gibbons, bringing home the win in the AM category. And that double win for Nola Sport. There's a look at that Red Line Oil BMW. Boy, what a great run they put in, a great charge for Bill Oberlin here. But Jason Hart on this day, he had enough left. And what a run he put in.
He really did, but it's a question of what ifs in motorsport sometimes, and if
there they
Walker
are.
hadn't got that little bump there,
Yep.
The restart, and took it to the dirt in Hogpen, maybe they could have swept the weekend.
Yeah, that was 5th to 11th by the time he was able to recover, and he just got tapped and run out there a little bit. So this sport's always full of coulda, woulda, shouldas, isn't it? And in the end, it's Hart and Travis that get the win.
Well, that's a big win for Jason Hart. They
It
needed
is.
to rebound. They needed to get maximum points here and you know, solidify their points lead. And when you beat someone like Bill Oberlin, he'll be having fun talking about that one tonight at dinner.
That's stuff you tell the grandkids. Absolutely. And you know, one of the things that you know, with our COVID safety protocols and the like and the distancing, is we don't get to hear those interviews with Matt Travis. He always works in some humorous line from a movie at some point. But let's get down to Ryan, who's amongst them.
It's been an up and down weekend, a little bit on the Sprintx side for the Andretti Autosport pairing of Colin Mullen and Jared Andretti. Jared, an overall podium and a class win here in the final race of Sprintx of the weekend. How would you assess the performance?
Yeah, I think it was a good race for us overall. I think Colin came in 4th, and we had a good pit stop and come out 2nd or 3rd, and that's kind of I made a mistake there and let Hart by me, and then trying to catch him, I went off down there and at the bottom of the hill and ended up letting Oberlin by us. But it's kind of like if you're running 2nd or running 3rd, really doesn't make a difference to me. It's about, you know, you want to try to win the race. So you know, at that point, I think it was just a well-executed race by everybody involved, and it got us in a position that we needed to with probably not the best car for the weekend. So I thought that's what sports car racing is about, and we'll take it on to the sprint race later this afternoon.
Absolutely. We look forward to seeing you there. We'll let you step aside and bring Colin on in. Colin, it was a real team effort to get this car ready and to put in this performance. And I watched your pit stop. You guys were just flying, and it seems like you made up a lot of ground in the pits.
Yeah, absolutely. For my first stint of the race, before the caution, we were looking after fuel, since that would be a big factor towards the end. So we were trying as hard as we can to save it preemptively in case there wasn't a caution, but after that caution hit, we decided we can just push and go from there. Unfortunately, we don't have quite the pace as the BMWs to match, but yeah, like you said, as always, we have a great pit stop. We work pretty seamlessly in and out of there, so we try to time it on point as always, and yeah, it really helped us pick up a couple positions there. So Jarrett drove a really good stint at the end, putting in some great laps. He was pushing as hard as he could to hold on to second overall, but we'll absolutely take third overall today and a first place finish in class. Much better than the past 2 days that we've had.
Congratulations on the victory. We'll see you at the next one.
Thanks so much, Ryan. Really appreciate it.
He's certainly going to be somebody we're going to be watching for a while. I think Colin Mullen, real talent, and you know, as is Jarrett.
Yeah, super smart. He had fuel conservation on his mind, because that team were, if it went green again, they were topping up. Some of the other teams ran out the first day, weren't full of fuel. They have been full of fuel, so I'm not sure if it's a pickup issue in their car exactly, but he said if it went green, we were worried we wouldn't make it once again.
Here's a look at the results in that silver category, and John Miller, again, that late pass. Last lap, getting around Cole Serralo for second. Still Serralo and Barber, then Whitmer, Gottsacker, and Celia Elganian. Let's get back down to Ryan Murray.
Well, after sweeping the weekend at COTA back in March, it took NOLA Sport a little while to get back in victory lane, but they did so, and in dramatic fashion. Jason Hart, Matt Travis will be speaking to in a moment, but Jason, man, those closing laps when you had Bill Oberlin nipping at your heels, how pressure-packed were those last few laps?
Since I left pit lane, I was as fast as I could go with a couple of mistakes. I mean, I had nothing left. I gave everything for every lap, every corner. I was watching the predictive every single lap, every single corner. That's just what it took. I got to thank Andretti for racing me clean. I think we had a good duel. I got him. He came back at me, almost got me back. It was a fun race right there. And then once I got clear of him, the first thing I heard in my radio was the Delta to Oberlin and his pace to my pace. And man, I just wrung it for everything I had. There was nothing left out there. Most importantly, thank you to Matt Travis for having me here, my co-driver, my good friend. But with that, the team. As everybody saw this weekend, if they watched the races and paid attention to practice, we struggled. We just struggled. We know what our struggle was now. We found it, and we're quite proud, quite happy. What a way to finish the weekend after struggling to win overall. Killer.
Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We'll bring Matt in next. And Matt, I was watching you on the pit wall as you were watching those final laps. You were sprinting back and forth to get as much of a view of this racetrack as you could. What was that like?
Man, that was intense. This is probably the hardest fought. You know, we've been fortunate to have a lot of wins over the last couple of years, and this is probably the hardest fought one. This is probably the one that means the most. I don't even have a ridiculous quote. Like Jason, I left everything on the racetrack and nervous as heck in the pits, but man, what a finish, what a result. Just thrilled.
We'll let you off the hook this time, but we need that quote from you on the next one. There they are, your overall winners.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah, what a great run. And, well, I guess that's why I'm in the booth, because Jason said he wasn't saving anything. I was just pedaling for everything he was worth out there.
Yeah, it was a monster performance, and obviously they were struggling a bit with the car. We noticed they weren't at the sharp end. We saw him yesterday down at the bottom end of the top 10 versus leading, so they turned it around overnight, and that's what great teams do. They just keep grinding and figuring out a way to get it done.
There's a look at the AM results. Sean Gibbons and Zach Anderson over Dr. Rappaport and Derek DeBoer, and Collingwood TC completing the podium, and Wilson and Allen, who started up front on that front row, having that little bit of a problem. And that was it. Let's get back down to Ryan one more time.
Also, our AM winners coming from the NOLA Sports stable. We've got Sean Gibbons, Zach Anderson. We'll step up here in just a moment. Sean, 5 races to start this year and 5 class podiums. Is that what you dreamed when the season got started?
Absolutely amazing. You know, the NOLA team gives us such an awesome car. You know, being teamed with Zach, we're just executing on everything we need to execute on. VIR has been my roughest track. This is only the 3rd time I've ever been here in my life. And so to end up at the top step of the podium and podium each race is just awesome. So amazing weekend. Got to thank everybody at NOLA and all of our sponsors at OGH, and awesome weekend.
It was a great drive from you, a great drive from your co-driver, Zach, as well. Sean, we'll have you step
Thanks.
to the side. And Zach, stepping in here. This program, when it came together for you, how exciting was it at that time? And at that time, could you have imagined the success that you've seen to this point?
No. I mean, I consider this all bonus, to be honest, in life. I thought this ship had sailed, and it's incredible to be in a Porsche race car
with the most successful Porsche team out here right now in GT4 America, NOLA Sport. And I feel really lucky to be a part of this team. So it's just been a really cool weekend, especially to finish as strong as we did.
Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was indeed. It has been just an amazing season for them, and it will continue. We get a little bit more of a break now again in August. The next rounds of this championship unfolding at Sonoma Raceway, which is an absolutely vastly different venue than VIR, one that's immensely challenging, though.
It is. It certainly has some elevation change there, one that the drivers really look forward to.
We're looking forward to it as well. Thanks for joining us here at VIR for Pirelli GT4 America's Sprintx Championship competition.